Hey gang, listen, I'm a big believer in anyone, regardless of your role, learning how to use AI in your jobs. Now, I don't mean just using ChatGPT to summarize information. I'm talking about taking it a step further, like building the skill set around building tools that solve problems. Now, it's always been important for people to learn how to use tools. And for those that really know a tool really well, whether Salesforce or HubSpot or even Excel, right? Those people are really valuable. But there's always been this divide between those who build tools and those who simply know how to use them. AI is blurring those lines. It's making it really easy for people who really know a space, really know a job, really know a task, helping them be able to spin up tools that like solve problems. Right? These may not be tools to scale. They're not intended to go out to like end customers or the outside world or anything like that, but you use it in your team so that you can do your job quicker, faster, better, and make sure everybody else is doing things consistently, across your team, those kinds of things. So I want to show you something that I've come across lately that I think might make that process a little easier. It's called a model file. And a model file is simply instructions that you can pass to a language model to make sure that it returns information back in a consistent way all the time. Right? So you can embed in there your voice, your style, a particular format that you need information back, or maybe you just have instructions on how to process information before it returns anything back. So you have this ability to be able to define all of these things up front, build a tool around that, and now you have the ability to customize AI to a specific need. Now, I guarantee you that this is not a technical demo. This is something anybody can learn, anybody can use, and we'll start simple and we'll expand from there. Now, if you happen to have an engineer on your team, that's all the better, right? They can help expand on what you start, but for right now, this is really to give you something to think about and show you how you could possibly use it. Okay, so let me give you a real simple example just so that you can visualize what exactly it is that I'm talking about, what we'll be working on, and what we're trying to accomplish by the end of this, right? So today you can use ChatGPT to help you write tweets, right? Give me a tweet on this particular topic, or give me 10 tweets, and it will do it just fine. But we can use a model file in a tool that we make ourselves to do this for us. Now, that may not sound like much of an improvement, but you can also include other information in the model file, not just make these 10 tweets. You would include your style, your voice, hashtags that you typically use, links that you typically use. You may have a style guideline or content guidelines that are a series of rules that need to be taken into consideration. You could certainly add all that information in a prompt in ChatGPT and it'll do it for you. But first off, that's a hassle. Secondly, you might not be terribly consistent with that. And certainly it's hard to share across a team, making sure that it's done consistently. By having a tool that everybody can use, you could use this tool to make sure that, in this particular case, your tweets are generated in a very consistent manner, right? Because what we're looking for is efficiency and consistency and the ability to share this kind of a thing across a team of people. And so this is a significant improvement over everybody just using ChatGPT and hoping that everybody follows the right guidelines, right? Okay, so let's jump into this. I'm going to start very simple and then I'll expand on it from there. I'm going to be using a tool called Ollama, right? It's here at ollama.ai. I'll leave a link. But this is a tool that is a client for large language models that have been downloaded and stored locally. This is not a tutorial on Ollama, right? But it's super easy to install. It's open source. Anybody could use it. It's free, right? You just simply click on the download link. I will say that it's only available right now for Mac and Linux. If you're on Windows, I guess it's coming soon. So says the tooltip. But the download is and installation is super easy. Click the button, it downloads something, you run it, and 2 seconds later it's there. I will say that it is something that runs on the command line. So I'm using terminal. And if this is not your thing, don't worry, we're going to get to how this can be used outside of this. But for the moment, we're going to start super simple, right? And I'll show you exactly how it's intended to be used, at least sort of natively. To see how it runs, you can just type in Ollama and enter, and you will see all the things that you can do. If you wanted to download a language model of your choice, you can go to huggingface.com, and there's thousands probably of models. Now what Ollama really is going to allow you to do is have a chat interface similar to like ChatGPT. So the thing that you'll probably most likely use is this run, which is to run a model. You enter a prompt, you get something back, just like ChatGPT. What I want to show you though is this guy here, create. Now I will say I feel like this line is a bit misleading. Creating a model from a model file. It's not creating a new model, it's creating almost an interface to some other model. If you're running GPT 3.5 Turbo or Llama 2 or something, you create a model file or 15 model files. You're not making 15 copies of these 3 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte files. You're simply creating these new multiple interfaces to the same language model. So semantics doesn't really matter so much, but what I'm going to show you though is how we can create a variety of different kinds of model files and what it does. Okay. So if you type Ollama list, you'll see all the language models that you have downloaded. I've downloaded a handful, Llama 2, a couple versions of Mistral, and so on. Right. Now to run one, you just simply type Ollama run. Let's do Mistral. Okay, that's all you need to do. So now you have a prompt where you can type something in. Who made you? Prompt, and hit enter, and you get something in return. Okay. I was created by the Mistral AI team, a cutting-edge AI company from France. Right, and so you could use this just like ChatGPT, keep entering prompts, you keep getting back responses. So what I want to do next is show you how to create a new model file. Let's just go back to here. Here's our list of models that we have, right? Now to create a new model file, what we need is a definition, some instructions, right? So let me show you what that looks like, a super simple one. In this particular case, now this is not the model file. This is just instructions that Ollama will use to generate the model file. It has a particular format, right? It starts off here with just some comments, right? This is not taken up by the code. This is just for humans to read, descriptions or whatever else you want to include. This line here from Zephyr is telling Ollama what model that it needs to be associated with. So I could put in here Llama 2, or GPT 3.5 Turbo or 4 or whatever. That's important. These parameters here are less so important. I won't go through what each of these things are specifically, but these are all optional. Right? There are defaults that you'll get if you just leave them all out. But they're just telling the language model how to process the information in terms of where it gets its tokens from, how it determines what tokens are used, and that's what it's used to generate the final text that it returns. So we won't get into that here. Like I say, they're all optional. The meat of it for us, for our needs, is what happens inside this system block. Now this is where we put in our instructions. This could simply be a style that we want to use, a voice. It could be a format, like you want things returned back in a numbered list, or if you want something in a JSON format, or it could just simply be instructions on how to generate the information, what to think about when you are generating information, and as opposed to like, what does it look like? And what is the style or the format per se, right? So it could be anything that you want that you throw in here. I've left it really simple so we can get started with just a very easy example. And so what we have here is you are an expert marketer specializing in tweets. When given a topic from the prompt that we'll enter, you provide the perfect tweet on that topic. End it with your pal Jeff, and then throw in some relevant hashtags. So back in terminal, type in llama create, and we give it a name. We'll call it tweets. This is how we'll refer to it later on. -f, assume that means file. Drag this guy in here, and I should put a space in. But that's just the path to the file, and that file can be anywhere. And once we run this, you can throw it away. It's not needed anymore after this. And once again, that text file is not the model file. It's just information that Ollama will use to generate the model file internally. So we'll just give this a run. This will just take a second. I'll say that, so it's done. I'll say that I've created more elaborate instructions, as well as those that use different models. And none of those things seem to have any impact on how fast this part goes. Super easy, super quick. So when you're iterating, you run something, you try it, you want to make a change, you can do that very, very quickly and easily. And I'll show you how that works in a second. But what it did here is it just kind of ran through it, did its thing. You don't really need to understand what any of that means, and it's done. And so if we look at our list of models, you'll see we have our tweets in that list. And we'll see that it says it's 4.1 gigabytes, but it's not really. It's only saying that because it's based off of Zephyr, and because that's the one we pointed it to, and that's 4.1 gigs. So if you created 15, 20 of these guys, you're not necessarily going to fill up your hard drive, or at least not in 4.1 gigabyte chunks. I'm not sure how much space this actually takes up, but it can't be very much. So now to run this, we run it the exact same way that we ran Mistral before, right? Or you run any model. As far as running models is concerned, these are all models, right? So we type in Ollama run tweets, right? And then this will start it up just like we did with Mistral. So let's try that. So there we have it. We have a prompt just like before, and we just enter something, hit enter, get a response back. Although this time, what we should get back, regardless of what we put in, is the tweet that we're looking for. So let's enter new product, the AI pup. Should be good. Boom. There you go. Say hello to our new AI pup, introducing Playful Puppies, the furry friend that teaches kids how to code and learn robotics. That's cool. Your pal Jeff. And then some hashtags. Okay, let's make some changes here just to show you how easy it is to iterate on these things. So let's open this guy back up again. And now let's change this to say provide an ordered list. So in here, you could also, of course, add style, examples, particular links that you need to use, maybe specify the hashtags that you want to use or whatever. But I just want to show you can make changes to it, save it, come back here, just rerun the same text file with that create one again. Let that run. Right? Did it, redid it. If I show the list again, list, you can see it didn't create another copy of this tweet. It just updated this one. just 10 seconds ago, right? So you can iterate on this, make changes, come back, rerun it, make changes, rerun it, and so on. It's pretty painless there. And then you just simply run it again. All right, started. So let's just rerun it with the same prompt. So you'll see we got our ordered list of all of our tweets. We don't see any Your Pal Jeff in here. And yeah, looking pretty good. So let's try something else. You can do things that are more complex than this. Let's do something quite a bit different. So this particular one here is, it's not so business related, but it's a meal thing. And in this case, you're going to pass a prompt to it. And there's a series of instructions on how to put together a full meal, making sure there's a balance of proteins and carbs and vegetables. There are sides that does a wine pairing and things like that. Now, the thing about this is that we'll pass only 3 elements to it: cuisine, a cooking method, and some main ingredient. And it's going to build a meal off of that. And this is really just to sort of show that it's not just about style or saying, give me a list of 10, no, make it 5, no, make it 30. You know, it's adding more complex information that, you know, that can be useful. We're going to effectively do the exact same thing that we did before. In this case, call it meal ideas -F, and we'll drag this guy in here. Right. And there we go. And then we'll just show you the list, right? Here we are, meal ideas. Got another one in here. It's started. So now, what are we going to add? Let's see. Tuna. Okay. So we'll see what we get. Theoretically, we should get a meal, full meal with a couple of sides at least, and a wine pairing and some other information about it. All right, beautiful. This worked out. Wonderful. So we ran tuna South American grilling, came back with something it calls grilled spicy tuna steaks with avocado salad and quinoa, right? Cuisine South American, main ingredient tuna steaks, grilling. It's got the ingredients for the main dish, came up with 2 sides, the salad and the quinoa. It's got the instructions for each. Came up with a wine recommendation, bold red wine from South America, such as a Malbec or Cabernet, so on and so forth, as well as why it chose that, and then gives a description of the thing. So yeah, so that worked out pretty well. Great. Listen, you may be thinking that this sounds an awful lot like ChatGPT custom instructions, right? If you're familiar with that, it is similar in a sense, but it's a little bit different. And you can add a lot of the same stuff that we just included in our model file, right? Give it a bit of a context. How do we want the response to look like? Is it a JSON format? Is it an ordered list? Whatever. I personally use ChatGPT all day long, 80 times a day, right? But I do it for everything from working on articles, writing code, brainstorming ideas, things like that. And there's no one set of instructions that works across the gamut of these tasks, right? So it's not even really easy to go and change those things. You know, if it was somewhere up in here where I could flip back and forth between different sets of instructions, that would be super useful, I think. It would be closer to what we're talking about. But for this, I could set up any number of tasks, right? So let's just take a look at this real quick. What I just did was I ran several other model creations. Right. So I added something for business intelligence, for any kind of marketing research you might do, customer support, put in a problem, and it gives you some sort of like response back to help as an assistant in that sense. A couple of mid-journey models to help generate prompts based on a concept. Both of these for illustrations or for photos can be really complex, right? You have a particular style that you want to leverage. You have particular details, particular way of putting together a prompt, particularly with like on the photo side, that can be pretty complicated when you start including things like types of cameras, the f-stop, the angles, all that other kind of stuff. So if you have some guidelines on how that would be put together to keep your prompts consistent, that could be really useful. Viral headlines, back on the marketing side of things, and so on, right? So again, kind of going back to the idea that you need a tool set, not just a tool, but a tool set for the variety of different tasks that you work on. Or if you have a team, even more so, right? You might have people that are responsible for different kinds of things, but they overlap in terms of, guidelines and procedures and things like that, right? So that having a single place where all of the tools are that anybody can use becomes really useful for the greater team, or even just for somebody individually to be able to toggle back and forth between different tools as the different tasks that they're working on, happen throughout a day, right? So that has a little bit of a benefit over what you saw in ChatGPT, where you have this one place where it's reasonably difficult to switch it out when you have to go and do a different kind of a thing, right? So let's give one or two of these things a try just to kind of see how they work. So I just ran several of these. For example, I started with the customer support, which is basically tuned to provide advice in a particular way. I can't log into my account. Oddly enough, I didn't include the details of what not to do, I suppose, in my instructions, but it said provide me with your email address and password. So I followed it up with, I'm not comfortable with giving you a password. Oh, understandable. And it gives this other approach to solving the issue. This is acting as an assistant to help give some, potential ways of being able to respond, which could be interesting. Then I ran my business intelligence one, analyzed customer demographics for the latest product, Playful Puppies, and it gives some information back, at least in a particular format. Now, it's not based on any particular data. Obviously, this is a made-up product, but you could include that as well so that it has more information at its disposal. The next one was viral headlines. So this is very similar to the tweets. So I decided to actually run it with the same prompt, and this gives a variety of headlines for articles. That's a little bit more clickbaity, to be honest, but that was actually part of the instructions. So 10 hilarious and adorable photos, blah, 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 10 this, 10 that, and so on, that kind of stuff. The final one was just running through the model that's tuned to produce prompts for Midjourney, in this case the illustration one. So again, I put in my Playful Puppies. It came up with some kind of a prompt that's a little wordy actually, but just out of curiosity, I thought maybe it would be fun to see what this produced. Come over to Discord. So let's just see what it produces. Let's see what it says actually. Intricate watercolor illustration of 3 playful puppies in a lush green field on a sunny afternoon. Sounds good. The mood is cheerful, upbeat. Style resembles works of illustrator Beatrix Potter. Okay, well, if you have a particular gripe against borrowing from other artists, this might be something that should be put into the instructions to avoid doing that, but you can iterate. Cute. I don't know if these are product photos or product illustrations necessarily, but anyways, you can tune how this works. But if you needed to produce any kind of media, this would be an easy way to be able to at least set some guidelines about how you wanted to do that. Maybe even tune it to a very particular style, include examples. It's just a way to kind of help that process along. So there you have it. So you have this tool set at your disposal that you could work with. It's easy to kind of flip back and forth between one model and the next based on your tasks. I know what your next thought probably is look, we're still working in Terminal, and I don't like Terminal. I don't work on a command prompt normally, and it's, that's not the most user-friendly way for a lot of people, and I get that. So one of the cool things about Ollama in particular is that it exposes all of these models via services, so that you could actually integrate with these models from some other tool that was built. I thought I would show you something I put together, a couple of things I put together to just show how that works. I wrote this very, very simple little script
of sorts. This is Python. This script I can run from the command line to provide a method that allows us to be able to request a particular model, right? And so in this particular case, I'm saying, give me the tweets model that we made earlier. And this is going to save it as this. And so what I can do is pass into this object, this model object, a prompt, effectively. This is the same thing as typing something in at the command line. And the response that comes back is the response that you would get. I'm saving it as this variable output. And all I'm doing here is I'm printing it out onto the screen. Okay, so let's have a look at what that looks like. And I know we're going back to terminal here, and I said we'd be getting out of this. And this is just a first step in that process, just to prove that these are available from services. Drag this guy in here, and when I hit enter, it's going to run this script. And what should happen is that the response should come back out. My tweets should come back and show me here at the command line. Okay, here's our tweets. Well, I won't go through them, but you can see them. They're ordered list, the tweets like we saw before. But now what I want to just call out here is that I wasn't running Ollama. I wasn't doing it in the same way. I had some other script, consider it an application, right, over on the side that called over to Ollama, said, give me this particular model and run this prompt, and sucks back the response. Now you can imagine any kind of application or web app that can do this as well. And so this is probably the better approach for being able to set something up for your team, where instead of people are running things on their local machines, you've got some computer set up somewhere that's hosting this. It doesn't have to be out in the cloud, doesn't have to be on the internet, right? It's just a machine somewhere on your network. And that machine has a website that you can go to that is actually integrated in this way, kind of weaving itself back into the models to be able to run these things. If it helps you visualize, I went and I put together something exactly like that. Okay, so I took my script here that was very simple, right? All it did is say, give me this model, pass in this prompt, and give me the output and do something with it, show it somewhere. In this particular case, it's just showing it straight in terminal. But what I did is I converted this to a web service. In this particular case, it took the details of that script and did a couple of things. First off, it gives it what's called a route, which is basically a URL that can be called. You can call it in a browser and it will, return something. An application can do the same thing. It requests something in the same way that it would request a web page. But the other thing that I added here is that instead of having it hard coded, where it said, give me this model and send in this tweet. Obviously, you don't want to change code every time you want to change it, either of these guys. So I made it so that this script takes in two things, a model and the prompt, effectively. Right? And so something else is going to pass in these two things. You can imagine a web page that says, use this model versus that model, or send in this prompt, or send in that other prompt that you literally can type in there. And basically takes these things dynamically. I've got a little bit in here in case there's just some errors, just to make sure that things don't break. And but the rest of it should look like what that other script was, right? Same thing here, setting up that request, give me this model. Only in this case, it's not hard coded. It's whatever's been passed into it. Same thing for the output. It says, basically pass in the prompt. And instead of that long sentence, it is really just this variable that was dynamically set, which was with whatever was set to it. And then in this particular case, I'm taking that output and I'm sort of creating it basically a JSON object, which is just a data format that is useful in a website. And so it returns back basically the response from the model, but structured as JSON. And so this is the back end for a website, effectively. The front end for the website is the web page that somebody enters stuff in, and it passes it to this backend component, which then does all the calls to the models and handles the communication back and forth. The front end looks like this. And you don't need to worry about what the code does, but I want to point out just a couple of things. First off, I have a list. This is a drop-down list. This is the code for like just a regular old select drop-down list that has all of the models that we've been putting together so that somebody can choose which one they want. And then let's see, somewhere in here, this text area is where somebody types in the prompt that they want to run, right? So from an engineering perspective, this is really, really simple. If you don't know code, then this does not look simple. I get it, right? But if you have somebody on your team who's good at writing, code, this would be like minutes of work. And to be honest, I actually used ChatGPT to write this for me. Now, I tweaked it a lot because I know what I'm doing, but to be honest, I said to ChatGPT, can write this, do these kinds of things, and it gave me the code. And if you didn't even know what to do with the code, it would even tell you that. So at any rate, I'm saying this is totally solvable. It's totally doable. But what does this look like? Well, it looks like this. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. In this particular case, this is just running off of my local computer, right? But this just as easily could be running on a computer somewhere in your office. It's not on the internet. You can't access it from anywhere else. The same would be true if you were running it within your office, and to a degree. Or you could actually put it on the internet if you wanted to, with behind a login, so that only the right people get to it. But that's neither here nor there. At any rate, here's my drop down. Here's all of the models that that we've created. All right, I can choose whichever one I want. These first couple here are just plain Jane models. We have our tweets one that we made, all these other ones that I added, and so forth. So let's do the dinner ideas again. Okay. So in this case, what do we want to do? Let's try that guy. All right. Got a response here. What do we got? Spiced chicken tagine with preserved lemons and apricots. Okay. Main dish or bone-in chicken thighs. Sides. Okay. One side, Moroccan carrot salad. Then we got Moroccan couscous. Both line recommendation: a Moroccan style red blend, like a Grenache. Look for one that's full-bodied and spicy with notes of blackberry, fig, and dried herbs. Sure. Okay. Anyways, this fragrant and flavorful Moroccan tagine is filled with tender chicken pieces, savory spices, preserved lemons, and sweet dried apricots. Sounds pretty good. Tell you what, let's do this. Let's copy that guy. Now, let's take a picture of it. Where's my photo? And we'll just plop that description in there. Okay, look at that. We got ourselves a prompt. Let's see how it works. Let's see what it looks like. Copy that. Come back in here. Give this another shot. See how it goes. All right. Oh, that looks all right. That looks pretty good. Let's get a better look at this. Yeah. I don't know. Looks a little like made by AI, but looks pretty tasty. Yeah. Okay. So there you have it. I know that I said that, I ended up like writing code, right, to make this. I don't want that to scare anybody off. Look, these are not meant to be tools to go out to the public. They aren't meant to scale. They don't have to be built with all the best practices, in place. Like I said, I use ChatGPT to write this code, so anybody could do this. And if you have somebody on the team that tinkers a little bit, or you have an official engineer who can help you write these things, these are really lightweight, really easy to spin up very quickly. I spent maybe a couple of hours total
putting these things together. And, on the topic of ChatGPT, you can also use them to build those files that you use to create the models, right? These model files, I should say. And so I thought I would just run through one quick one just to show you how quick and easy this could be. So here's one that I'm just saying, can you build me an LLM model file to assist coming up with interview questions for, whatever job role I answer. All right. See what it does. I guess it's done its thing. Okay. It did its thing. I'm not going to pull the whole file. What I'm going to do, let's just do this. Take an easy one. I'm just going to duplicate this and we'll call this, interviews. But just really quickly, I'm going to take this little chunk in here. I'm just going to take that, paste that in there. And this doesn't look like much, right? But this is enough information to help it understand what it needs for this particular role, right? So we'll save that. While we're at it, why don't we do this? Take this, do that. Do that. What else do I need to do? Come back over to here. Let's clean this up here. Drag that guy in there. Okay, we got that. Now, interview questions. Perfect. Product manager. Okay. Shall I give it a try? Boom. There we go. Let's see how they work. Can you explain what key responsibility a product manager has and how they contribute to the overall success of a product? Sure. How do you work with various teams like marketing, sales, engineering, design? How do you track market trends? Yeah, these are all product manager questions. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. How about inside sales? All right. Can you explain the key responsibilities associated with an entry-level inside sales role at our company? What qualifications, experience you believe is essential, and blah, blah, blah. Have you honed communications? Well, it seems good. Let's see if it understands the difference between, I think I meant to actually go the other way around, but that's okay. Give that a try. All right. Director level sales. Can you walk through experience building and managing 6 teams? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, these look reasonable to me, I guess. I mean, I'm not in sales, so I don't know. But anyways, you get the picture here. All right. So I know this is a longer video than I anticipated. I wanted to cover a lot of different bases here and show a bunch of different examples at the same time. So, I think this is a really exciting time and it's a really exciting space. I know that it can be very daunting at times. The technology is changing super fast, and there's always this lingering question over everybody's heads is whether or not we're going to be replaced by AI. So I think it's really important to really dive in, understand the technology, be able to understand how to make it part of the new kind of role that you might have. You know your job. You know what's important, what's needed from people change. And part of that is really understanding how to get into the technology, even if you're not a technical person per se, right? I think that what we'll also find very quickly is that the user experience around a lot of these tools is going to be the next huge advancement in this space. And that's going to make it really easy for people who are not technical to be able to bring these things into their jobs, for sure. Right now, there's almost no work done in that space. You can only imagine what will be, available in 6 months, 3 months, certainly a year, right? But if you understand the basic concepts and things now, it's going to benefit you for sure.